I've had a chance to learn very personally a lot about exploitation. And it's something I thought I knew about because I worked with vulnerable populations. I was woke, I was educated, but it's interesting, is one way of putting it, painful to see how kind of the social patterns you can study in an abstract way play out in your life when, as your social status falls, um, or maybe returns, because I was born white trash, it, um, you lose people. The good girls are the first to go away because good girls can't be associated with bad girls. And if society has rejected you, you're bad. And those are the conservative rules, those are the liberal rules. So I can't exist. I'm a white civil rights victim with a master's degree. I know better. So privileged people are never civil rights victims according to their worldview. So if they could start being civil rights victims, women who look like me, then they would have to question the system. So the system functions on making me crazy. And I mean, there have always been different words for it. You know, the crone on the mountainside is just an unmarried woman, pretty much. Like, and she becomes a witch. She becomes an old um, devil lady when it's just a woman doing her thing and not being married. That's what patriarchal culture has created in terms of mythology. Americans don't think they're part of that. That's why it works especially well here. We're very unconscious, so it makes us very easy to manipulate. And so the way it plays out nowadays is obviously I must have an addiction or a mental health issue that is keeping me from seeing the light. If it was Salem, I would be possessed by the devil and God might have mercy and kill me and I might be redeemed and, my soul could be saved or someone could get the devil out of me. But until the devil's out of me, there's no point associating with me. And it's better to protect your virgins from me. It's better to protect your men from me. And so, when you're outcast, but you're never alone because there's a new population. And there always has been throughout history. There are always, we tell stories about what happens when little girls go on paths, right? There are wolves. And the wolves have always been there. And the good girls have people to protect them from the wolves. But obviously, all good girls have someone to protect them. So if you're out there and the wolves are getting you, then you've strayed off the path. And it's better not to think about it. But the wolves are happy to think about you. And so it's interesting and it's easiest. I'm not going to overplay the metaphor, but to don the sheep's clothing, the easiest way is to be a woman. You can get away with a lot. In 2022, my mom and my boyfriend at the time, Rob Frank, before he had a massive stroke, they believed me. Everyone knew my best friend Jen believed me. Everyone knew I was a civil rights victim. There are these horrible crimes. I mean, they're really obvious. Like my ex-husband, and this is not like me just saying it. This was like filed in court. Judge Robert Johnson knows this. He's read this. He's had it read to him. He's had an attorney working for the FBI say it out loud so it could be on the tape when there was actually an investigation that Peter made Angus CEO of his company at the age of 13 when Angus couldn't count to 10 and had severe developmental disabilities so that he could defraud IBM out of contracts set aside for disabled people. And this is fraud. And it's a form of child abuse under Illinois law. You cannot use a minor in a financial fraud. That's a form of child abuse. Peter should have been deported just on that alone because he's on a green card and you can't abuse your children. That's one crime that you're supposed to leave. And but he's rich and powerful, so that didn't happen. But that's one of 1,000 crimes that Judge Johnson participated in or hid. And But that sounds outlandish. That doesn't happen in the United States. It could not be that the entire Illinois judiciary is corrupt. It could not be that I had submitted 300 pages of evidence and testimony and Merrick Garland had an active case. And it could not be that I was issued whistleblower numbers and protection. It could not be that I witnessed this prosecution being built. I witnessed my life being destroyed so that someday a case could make me whole. I didn't choose to destroy it. The feds did. I witnessed that, but that doesn't happen. So I'm crazy. And so Rob and my mom believed me, and then things changed. There were no arrests made. Correlation is not causation, but my mom's worldview is very strongly shaped by, who she's around and what she talks about and what she thinks about. And prior to 2022, I know she had volunteered a lot for the Ottawa County Democrats, but then she became a paid employee. And so when I was testifying a lot about all this crazy corruption by Democrats, and she knows how good the Democrats are because she works for them, I think that was also when she started to realize how crazy I was and started to publicly tell people that I was having mental health problems. But at no point did my mom ever intervene in my life or come to see if I had food or if I was taking care of myself. I was acting like I am now, just saying things that she found to be implausible. This is not a mental illness to say things that are implausible to your mother. I guess the clearest example in 2023 so Judge Johnson, after I testified about him, he garnished so much of my income that I couldn't pay $3,500 rent for the townhouse in Wilmette. And I needed to live there because I needed to be in my boys' school district so I could maintain parenting time. And I needed to have separate bedrooms for my boys because Angus would beat up his brother, and his father refused to provide the interventions to keep his brother safe. I couldn't get any housing, so I had to move to my ex's trailer park in Iowa. That was when I lost my professional identity. Everyone I knew on LinkedIn, everyone I'd had lunch with, everyone who was doing business with me, just suddenly I was gone, and I was crazy. That's why I was gone, I guess. Nobody ever talked to me about it. Really, nobody, friends, nobody responds, it's just emptiness, a void, except for the wolves. And so then I had made plans to move into Rob's trailer after all my income was garnished. We had been broken up at that time. And the plan was that I would do work on his trailers and kind of, because he owned a trailer park and he owned certain trailers. So I would, and I did. I rehabbed his trailer, the one he lived in. I bought a washer and dryer. I did work on it. I landscaped it. I put in steps. I put in money and I put in labor. His tenants came to me for problems. I solved problems. I maintained some of the property. But we didn't have a lease. He just told me I could live there as long as I wanted. But then he had a massive stroke. And then while I was living there, after he had his massive stroke, I found out that the entire time we had been dating, he was lying to me about being married. And that hurt my feelings. And I said I didn't want to visit him for a while because I was upset. And then he evicted me into an Iowa winter. And I'm a plucky gal, so I just thought, well, maybe the universe is telling me that I need to go back to Chicago. I can't hide here in the prairie. So I'm going to just lean into, shouldn't be hanging out with nasty ex-boyfriends anyway. I should lean into the good people of my church. So I stayed in an Airbnb and tried to get hours waiting tables. I couldn't get enough hours, but I still had my unemployment. And then my good friend, she meant well. She didn't know anything about this. She said that one of our friends from the church, a deacon who I knew, she and her husband have Airbnbs in their house. And I didn't have enough money. I had like $200 until my next unemployment check. so I could only pay $200, so I couldn't book an Airbnb, but he was willing to let me, pay him cash and not use the app. But I was paying them $1,000 a month, which is fine. But at the same time, they didn't treat me like a boarder. Because at this point, we've already established all the good girls know that I'm crazy, right? Except my friend Barb, who generally she's an angel. She's not a good girl. But everyone else gave me up. And except this deacon, who's a good girl. And when I was talking to her husband about living there, a red flag went up because I explained to him that I had testified about judicial corruption. And because of that, I have U.S. Marshals sometimes around me and in my life. And the red flag was that he believed me and didn't have a lot of questions. That's not usual, because that sounds crazy. So the normal response is, okay, I'm sure you're under stress, Megan. It's okay. Megan, that's what like a normal person would do. That's what I would do. I wouldn't just believe someone. So I was like, well, maybe he's a hippie. Maybe he smokes a lot of weed. Because, granted, I'll believe a lot of conspiracy theories because a lot of them have been true. Like, all the Black Panthers they killed. Yeah. So I think right-wingers get obsessed with conspiracy theories because they're new to them or something. The left, like, we've just moved on. We've had a lot of conspiracies to move on from. And it's like a lot since JFK. And they're still hung up on that one. I don't get it. It's like there's so many. You can't trip on all of them. You should just try to stop the ones going on now. So that was a little surprising. And then when I moved in, I could tell the wife, the deacon, Terry, she very yes and me, she believed everything too. But I could tell that she followed me around. And I thought, like the people at the church now, she wanted to see me with a needle in my arm or screaming at the moon so she could tell the other people what the issue was. So this was at the progressive woke church. So her reason would be so that as boomers, they could know what was wrong with the poor dear so that they could find the social services. I'm in a conservative church now, so the boomers are trying to catch me with a needle in my arm so they can know what Satan's doing so they can pray it out. The problem is I don't have a needle in my arm. I have judicial corruption. I'm a civil rights victim. It's an external harm, but they don't have a way to process women experiencing external harm. So I'm a crazy bitch, which for good girls means stay away, unless you're a saint like Barb. But for wolves, it means opportunity. So Terry started following me around, and I thought, well, she's trying to see if something's wrong with me. And it was just weird, because like one night, this is when I had my dog, he had diarrhea. And I don't know if you've ever had a dog with diarrhea, but you're up and down. So I was up and down the stairs taking him out to poop in the backyard. And she was following me at like 3 a.m. And that's weird, to have someone follow. But I'm like, okay, I'm living in her house. She wants to see if I'm stealing the silver. Guess she's not that woke. But do you, boo. But this is when it wasn't just weird, it was bad. And keep in mind, her husband was retired, but his job was a video producer, and he taught video editing at a university, and he specialized in really tricky to film situations. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but that's his job. So when you think of personality types who might be voyeurs and jobs they do, for example, just hypothetically. So then the house is a big old Victorian with 3 stories, and there's an attic, and then I was sleeping on the the 3rd floor is where I was sleeping, and then the couple was on the 2nd floor, and they had their private bath and shower, and then there was a full bath on the 1st floor, and that was the only one that I was supposed to use. And for showers, there's like a powder room. So I went in there one morning doing my thing. I'm standing in front of the mirror, and it's I don't know how you dress for your shower. I was dressed for my shower naked, so I'm standing in front of the mirror, and then something moved to my left, and I looked, and I realized that next to that bathroom, there was a butler's pantry. And the butler's pantry was really crowded. It wasn't used. You know, it had a chopping block full of like cookbooks and pots and things. And all the chopping was done in the kitchen. There was a big butcher block there. It was a big house. But then all of a sudden, next to me, I realized the bathroom actually had a window looking into the butler's pantry. And the woman, Terry, was standing there chopping. She'd never been in the butler pantry before. She had the light on, so I would see her. She wasn't standing in the kitchen. I got very upset. I felt very exposed. I realized for the first time there was a window into the bathroom. I hadn't noticed it before. I guess I should have done the scan for windows, but the light hadn't been turned on. I will say I've done theater and I know scrims, and I felt like a scrim is like you put it on stage, you don't see anything, you light it from behind, you see something. I felt like she wanted me to see her. I felt like I was being gaslit. I felt like she and her husband both believed I was psychotic, and that they were trying to destabilize me a little bit and test my reaction and test my tolerance for perversity. That's my intuition. But I'm a psychotic woman, so you should think of it what you will. I really need help. So I freaked out and, probably drove away with my dog, screaming to myself. But, the Lord has a way of moving really swiftly. And within a day, they caught a couple of other Airbnb renters who moved right in, a couple fit young people, very fit young friendly people. And just as a coincidence, the fit young man who moved in went into the butler pantry and put a bunch of food, like bags of like pasta and things that he bought, just happened to cover up that window so nobody could watch me while I was naked. So that I thought that Lord intervened in a nice way by sending these two people. But I decided I needed to get the fuck out of Dodge. And so I decided I would go to Asheville because I had money for an Airbnb. So I thought, well, I'll rent a room somewhere warmer. I'd always wanted to go to Asheville because when I was in high school, I had a teacher, Mr. Taylor, who recommended Look Homeward Angel. It was that random. So, and Asheville's a very nice city, so it was a good call. And I knew they had mountains and trees because I'd seen my friend's Instagram. I knew that I like trees. I like going to ground. So, Appalachia. And also, I grew up listening to bluegrass music, so I love roots music. And so, and I didn't tell them I was leaving because the people were scaring me. Because as soon as I saw that, I was thinking more about the husband being someone who video records. And that's just me projecting my analysis. But a lot of times men who obsess about like making videos and choosing angles, they like to look. And if somebody likes to look and they put windows in their bathroom, it makes you scared about like cameras and things potentially in your room. And people who are smart enough to never let you know. That's my paranoia. I was very mentally ill. So, I got out of there and, and things are going okay. But at the same time, every time these things happen, and here's the other. So then, I just made my plan to get out of there. I decided not to tell them I was leaving because I thought they might escalate or get weird. The very last day, this couple, they checked out before I left. I was getting ready to leave and I went down to take a shower. And I swear to God, I'm standing there getting ready for my shower and one of them walked in and moved that food away from the window while I was in there naked. And I knew with everything that had happened, I'd already alienated everyone I know. I knew that I shouldn't bring it up again. So I tried to swallow it. I lived in Asheville. And then right before I lost housing, it was only a short-term lease. We knew I was going to have to move out. And it was about the time I was losing unemployment. Okay, this is crazy. I have this eye situation. It was like really swollen. And I thought, well, maybe it's swollen because I'm not telling the truth. Like maybe my body is reacting because like I'm holding back because I lied about what happened to me. I didn't um I had well, I hadn't lied. I told people I thought would take care of it responsibly. I told the pastor at the church, and I told another person I trust very much. And I told them that if they would take the time to go to that house, that they would be able to see in the bathroom the situation that I was talking about was real, and that I would hope that they would make her not be a deacon anymore, because a deacon is a role of authority, and I don't think you should have authority if you look at women naked without their consent, no matter what your reason. And I think she was trying to provoke symptoms in a mentally ill woman in order to well, there's no reason for it, so I don't know why, but I think that's what she was doing. I don't think she has the character to be a deacon, and I felt like I should tell them that, but otherwise keep it quiet. So I was like, I told them, I'm done, I can let it go. But I was like upset, and my eye was jinky, so I thought, well, maybe it's because I didn't tell the truth. So then I went on YouTube and I told the truth about that. I think it just lost me more friends. It didn't solve my eye. That took like 2 years. And I went to doctors. People thought I didn't. But then I tried everything I could to be vanilla, to make money honestly. I turned to my church. I tried teaching. I asked my mother for a loan. That's really what pissed her off. She really hates losing money. And, I was working, teaching. And as soon as I started teaching, there was just more money garnished than I could live on. And that was when I started OnlyFans for the first time. There's something very satisfying about it. Because like I have boundaries. I'm codependent. I have boundary issues. So yeah, I don't break things off with boyfriends like I should sometimes, and they come back into my life. It's nice when you have an OnlyFans when they're like, oh, I want to sex with you. And you're like, okay, well, go to my OnlyFans because I'm drinking my coffee. I know I sound full of myself. But it's just so weird what it reveals about how people think. Because there's this guy, everyone has friends like this. It's either like your best friend's other best friend or your roommate's friend. Or your friend's roommate. This was like one of my best friend's roommates. Is somebody, my school was small, so we knew everybody. He was fine, but he was not my friend. He wasn't somebody I personally liked. He was my friend's roommate. And that's stay in your lane. But friend's roommate decided to join my OnlyFans and ask for special pictures. It's like, that's fine. You're free to do that. But what he doesn't realize is I'm also free to just block him and also block him from social media. And now I never have to pretend he's my friend. He's just my friend's roommate who creeped me out once on OnlyFans. But my point is, when you're a bad girl, people, they're not going to return your calls when you're like, oh, could you help pay for my storage unit? Because that's awkward, right? But they might reach out to see pictures of your pussy, even though it must be a huge moral conflict to take advantage of someone as insane as me. But then there are just like the ex-boyfriends, I don't know. I'm a bitch, but I think I can be forgiven. I've been through some stuff. If you believe anything here, I think you would believe I've been through some things over the last decade. But this is the first guy I dated when I don't even think I was divorced. I started dating him 10 years ago in 2016. I was divorced in 2017. And we broke up because he wasn't like the relationship guy. I knew his son was almost graduating, but we were really close. We still are, I think, but it's still, for him, it's just about, he's polyamorous. So, I don't think he understands just not being horny all the time, I think. So I think I think he just assumes that in between bouts of sadness, I'm just incredibly aroused. And it's a job, dude. Um, but you know, when somebody's like your close friend, you know, somebody you love, I do love him, and I think he loves me in his own way, and he says he loves me. Um, but well, then he doesn't go on my OnlyFans, you know? We're just like chatting, and sometimes he Venmos me money. But and we're like chatting the other day after he wanted to sext, and I know, you know, he's a producer, so I know he probably studied a lot of English to get a broadcasting degree. And it's like, did you ever read The Sound and the Fury? And because I love that book. He's like, yeah. And I said, Cassie smells like trees. And and he forgot to Venmo me money. And the connection that we shared, that friendship over Faulkner, it's not as good as getting $200 on Venmo. It was a lot better when I had a dog. He gave me a lot.